Okay, y'all, we are on part 2 of this John Deere LA105 riding mower. The end of the video, previous video, y'all saw me try to get it running. It's not running. I think it's because there's a lot of water and stuff in the fuel, and so now I'm going to clean out the gas tank as well as clean the carburetor out. What I'll probably do is see if it'll hit after I take the carburetor off and get it, see if it'll go then. The battery, I gotta get a solenoid for it too. The battery, it seems to be fine. I think it was just acting weird because I had the charger hooked up to it. I actually got a couple of batteries and went ahead and got a couple of oil filters for this one, as well as the Troy built over there that you'll see coming up while I was out. I mentioned also about the batteries in video number 1 that the EverStart ones did not come with left positive. I was wrong. They actually come in both. So I found the ones that have left positive and bought 2 of them because I'm going to need it for other mowers around here. And you do see car oil filters. You know, I could do these for $3. I could do the other oil filters for $10. Those are the Briggs. I've heard mixed opinions about them. I've heard there's no issues if you use them. I've heard that there's some sort of drain back valve that are on lawnmower air filters that aren't on car air filters. If anybody wants to give me insight about that, I'm all ears. I figured with the pressure lube, they both provide good pressure, and they're quite honestly probably better made than the mower air filters you'll find at a parts store if you don't want to pay Briggs & Stratton. But I feel like I keep giving Bruce Penner shout outs. If you're following my channel and you're not following his channel, then I believe it's a crime. I see him suck out fuel with turkey basters all the time, so I went out and bought a turkey baster. And since this tank is in the back, it was going to be kind of a little bit of a pain to get to where I could actually drain the gas out of it, because it's above the transmission, transaxle pulley and all that, and there's really not a lot of gas in here. So I'm just going to suck what is in here out 1 ounce at a time, which I think there's only probably a good 32 ounces of gas in here, if that most. There's a bunch of just crud and mess in here, so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and run it through the system, run it out of the system, and just clean it maybe with some good gas and get some good gas going in it. As you can see, I'm already kind of getting to where I can't suck much more of it out, but I might try and dilute it with good gas. You can actually, I don't know if you can see down there, but that's the inlet hole, and there's so much in there that you can't even like suck it out. You can see the condition of the gas. It's just bad. So this will take a little bit of time, and I'm going to try to get as much of this gas out as possible. We do know that this tank is holding because it's held this gas for I don't know how many years. Not really getting a lot of gas there, but so it's held this for I don't know how many years. I know tank leaks on these are a common-ish issue as well, so glad they don't have that. Anyways, that's the update. Let me finish the draining out of the tank, cleaning the tank out, and we'll move on to the carburetor. So I've had a little bit more of a bright idea, so to speak, or just kind of after the fact. So I've got the fuel line off. This is the inlet. I took that off. I took the fuel filter off, which are both, you know, they're fine. They're in decent shape. But you see how bad that gas is, man. So I took the fuel line that was remaining, stuck it back down that hole there, and have it sitting out of this now. But the problem is I'm not getting anything coming out of it. So what I might try and do is I might try and take this handy dandy turkey baster and see if I can suck it down from here. I might not be able to. I might have to do this with 2 hands, so just hang tight for a second. Alright, y'all can see that the color of the fuel has changed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the vice grips. I just wanted to clean out that old gas. Looks like I've done so. Might let it suck one more time. Didn't suck all the gas out of it, did it? No. I might suck it one more time just to see if that helps it anymore. And then if it does, then I'll go ahead and move on to the carburetor. That gas is looking good now. So I've got that, and yeah, so next is working on this bad boy. So I'll go ahead and, since I've already got one of the lines off, I'm going to go ahead and finish taking the fuel lines off of this fuel pump. That way I don't have to isolate the fuel pump from the engine cover, and help expedite the process a little bit here. That fuel line should be out, so I'll go ahead and take that out. And last but not least, the vent line. I believe that's the vent line, isn't it? It goes a long ways to be a vent line. Oh yeah, that's the crankcase pressure. Feeds off of the oil dipstick. It's been so long since I've worked on one of these, I had forgotten that's what it does. That's how it gets its, that's how it works. Works off of the crankcase pressure. Let's see if I can do this without killing my hands. There we go. So that's done. Next thing in order is to take this engine cover off, which is I think they're either 7/16 or 10 millimeters on these older, or excuse me, these newer Briggs. I think you can get by with a 10 mil. So let me take those 4 things off, and then you have to take the dipstick out to do that. Those 4 bolts off, get this engine cover out, and we'll start working on the carburetor. So I got the cover off, and I figured that there would probably be a little bit of evidence of a rodent in here. There is. This ain't nearly as bad as I've seen though. Apart from that, the fins look clean. I'll probably just be able to take the air compressor and just blow out this, and we should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and address that. What I'm probably going to do, just to make life easy, if I can, is just take the whole, go ahead and pull this tube out of the carb there. I'm just going to take the intake bolts off and just try and get the carb off that way. That saves me a lot of disassembly of like this piece and that piece on the mower, which is a little bit more difficult. With the linkages and stuff on it, because it's a 2-piece process to get it off. We'll see how that goes. Let me get this cleaned up, and we'll get to this. All right, so got all that cleaned out of the way. I did notice that the mice did venture into getting into the magneto and plug wire, so we're gonna see if I've got an extra one of them. If not, I'll order one. But these mice can really do some damage if you're not careful. That's one of them. That might pertain why I couldn't get it started, and the spark was intermittent too, in addition to the bad fuel. So let's work on the carb next. Alright, the intake is off. These newer ones don't have an intake gasket like the older ones do, so just keep that in mind. I was able to pull the choke from its slot right here, and now I'm going to work on getting the actual these linkages off. I'll show y'all how to get these off. It's not really that difficult. I'm going to love it when I don't have to worry about lawnmowers in my garage. And again, that's going to be never, so wishful thinking. Let's see what we can do here with the linkages. Show if I can film it as well. Alright, get so where y'all can hear me. So we got it off. Let me get this thing on the bench back here, and we'll see what we got. I have a feeling it's going to look pretty bad. Alright, so with the carburetor off, let's see. I mean, I got the intake port just wide open here. Let's see if I can just pop some starter fluid in here and see if we can get this thing to fire up. I just want to hear it. I just want to hear it run. You know, it'd be kind of cool. All right, so that's good. So now I have the gas. I have everything off still, so that proves to me that everything is still cranking up and is good. Again, I don't really like where the insulation got chewed off. Let's see if I find a coil for it. They're really cheap, and I might actually have one in the in my little stash in the lean-to beside me. So I think I mentioned that before. Got an oil filter for it. So let's dive into the car. Why don't we? Alright, so I would recommend, if I were y'all, to get an impact. It's very easy to strip out the threads for the Phillips screw if these are, you know, starting to get a little age on them and whatnot. So let's see how it looks. That's right, I forgot that these are the kind of like the whole assemblies on the bottom here. It's looking a little... Let's see if we can get all this out here. A little gummed up, that's for sure. Of course, we knew that. Goes on like that. Alright, so we are looking a little gummed up, as you can see on the bottom here. A little bit of trash in the jet, a little bit of corrosion, or a little bit of old gas in the bowl there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also look at this jet. You can see there's a little bit of old gas residue and stuff on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm grabbing some carb cleaner. I'm just going to spray out all these portholes here and kind of spray all this just to try and get some of the gunk and stuff out of it. And work on this as well, just to get some of this old gas build up out of it. to hopefully prevent further issues with it. Apart from that, I mean, the inside of it does look pretty good. Needle and float look like they'd be working like they're supposed to, and we could pop the float needle out of it as well here, just to see how bad it looks. That doesn't look bad at all, actually. So I'm going to clean the float out. Just kind of get it to where it's less gunky, as well as this, and then clean this out as well. So let me go ahead, get to working on it. When I get it clean, I'll get back to you. Alright, so I've got it pretty clean for what it is. What I like to do sometimes is take this Dremel with a little fine wire brush, and that a lot of times will get most of the gunk, like all the big stuff at least, knocked off of this carb, the float, and then also here for the jets and things of that nature. So now what I will do is I will go ahead and put everything back together. And y'all kind of saw how it all came off, so let's see if I can get it back together here for us. Needle. It looks like there's no float or gasket for the needle on these, which is kind of interesting, actually. Okay, now put this back on here, actually. Put this gasket back on as well. What I'll do is I'll come from the bottom here. So we're going to fit it into, you're going to see this little indentation above the float fits right into this on the carburetor. So we're going to do that here. Okay. So that's in. And that doubles as a bowl gasket and as the gasket for the carb. So now take these screws, we will carefully put them back in. Again, very carefully. Very carefully. Okay. So they're back in. Let me go ahead and reassemble this onto the mower. I'm going to throw some seafoam into this carb as well whenever I get it started, just to kind of get it to where it will get that little bit of remaining stuff out of there, but the jets and everything are clean. I checked all them, and so we should be in good shape. So let me go ahead and get this thing back on. Y'all kind of saw how I took it off, so it's just a matter of getting the linkages back on and putting the 2 bolts in for the intake. Hook up the fuel pump, and we will see. Might put the cover back on it. We'll see what we can see if we got anything turning over here. Alright, so I've got it back. I've got the carb back on. It's the two 10 millimeters, and then just got the linkages back. give y'all kind of a look at the way that the linkages are supposed to be on there for the interim, and I might keep it this way because the wires were just slightly exposed, but the wires were not cut for this ignition coil. So after test running it, cranking it up, it's getting good spark and whatnot. So what I have done is I've just put some electrical tape on this coil. I know it's not rubbing against anything. I know it's because of the way that the mouse was chewing on everything. So I'm going to do this and just see how everything works, and I'll inspect it before I call it good. And for the test purposes, this is what I'm going to do as well. So let me go ahead and get the cover back on. Let me get the fuel lines and fuel pump and everything hooked back together. It's just the same way that I took everything off. So just do the reverse, and we'll see if we have a mower that will run by itself here. Alright, so everything's back on together. Fuel lines are clamped down. What I also did is I turned it over and let the fuel pump pick up some gas and put it and prime it up a little bit. That way it's not going to take that long to get into the carburetor. I'm going to see if I can get this thing to turn over on its own without any starter fluid on it. And just to give you an idea to the way the fuel lines go back on, the fuel line got one that I got to get clamped back. The fuel line coming from the tank goes on to this one. The one going over to the crankcase ventilation goes to here, and the one going out to the carburetor goes right there. So I'm not going to worry about getting that clamp on right now. Just for the purposes of starting, the oil is enough to get it started. It's on the add mark, so just for the purposes of what we're trying to do here, it should work. Let me see if I can do this with two hands. I need to get it choked up. Let's see if I can get it to turn over. I have to hook up the charger to it. Not gonna give me enough oomph to get it going. So let me hook up the charger to the battery and see if we can get this thing to crank for us. Alright, so I'm going to try it. I've got multiple options here. I'm just doing the quick and easy thing real quick. I'm going to try this option, and then what I'll do is I might try and throw a little starter fluid in it. And if neither of those works, I might just put a new battery in it and see what it takes to get it cranked after that. So let's try this first. Let it charge back up a little bit, and I'm going to throw a little starter fluid in it. Alright, so I had it running for a quick second there. Now it seems like it's not getting any spark anymore. Possibly. Let's see. Okay, so I know I'm getting fuel in there, and I know it's just running on starter fluid at this point. I thought I had cleaned out all the jets and whatnot. what I might try and do is just throw some air up in there and see if I can get something cleaned out, because it sounds like it's just not picking up the fuel right now. And we'll see what we can do after that. Alright, so y'all are going to laugh at me, but this thing was out of gas, and the reason why I figured it out was that the fuel filter was not full of gas. And now it is. It had just enough gas to prime in the fuel line, but not enough to run. So, pending any further carb issues, which I did not really find, considering that it is dumping gas into the bowl. I confirmed by taking off the little cylinder here, and it's not, looks like it's not flooding. This should crank. Famous last words. Put the air filter on and see if that helps it out some. This thing hasn't been running in about 3 years, so. Time for some seafoam. Now I think the operative is to just let it run a while and see if it cleans itself up. Alright, well, now we got it running. Let's see if it actually will, like, move. That's first gear. Second. Third. Fourth. And fifth. Pulsing like crazy, isn't it? Reverse works good too. Looks like I'm about to run out of gas, so. It's like one of the most pitiful idles I've ever heard. It's probably sucking gas like crazy though. I think there's still a little bit of gunk and whatnot in the tank that it might have to work out. But hey, it is running. And so what I'll do is I will leave y'all with this to end part 2. We got the carb clean. It's running. I'm probably just going to let it run for a little while. We know that it moves. The deck's been sent off to get welded. So in part 3, what I would like to do is go ahead and buy a solenoid, get the solenoid on, get the deck back on, test it out that way. I'll go ahead and get the tire tube on. You'll see me do that plenty of times, so I'm not going to show that on camera. And hopefully we will have a good mower here after I can get this thing sorted out where it'll run a lot better. Like I said, I just think it needs to be run some because it ain't been run in years. Good to know it's alive. And I appreciate y'all sticking around, and we'll see what part 3 entails for us. I think we're going to have a good one here, y'all. It's looking good so far, and I appreciate y'all watching, and just continue following the videos. Got riding more content, push more content. Part 3 will be coming up on this pretty shortly.